It was a picture-perfect Monday, January 31st, 2000. At Puerto Vallarta International Airport in Mexico, the sun was shining. 83 passengers and 5 crew members boarded Alaska Airlines Flight 261, an MD-83 jet bound for Seattle with a stop in San Francisco. For many, this was the end of a vacation. The mood was light, filled with the familiar chatter of people returning home. This is the story of Flight 261. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Red Dot Aviation. The takeoff was smooth. The aircraft, under the command of 2 highly experienced pilots, Captain Ted Thompson and First Officer Bill Tansky, climbed gracefully into the clear blue sky. For the first hour, everything was routine. Passengers settled in, watching the vast Pacific Ocean stretch out below them. But high above the California coast, a silent mechanical nightmare was beginning to unfold. In the cockpit, a warning light flickered. The pilots noticed the airplane's autopilot was struggling. The horizontal stabilizer, a crucial part of the tail that controls the plane's up and down pitch, had become jammed. It was stuck in a slight nose-down position. For the next 2 hours, a battle began. The pilots, using immense physical strength, had to pull back on their control columns just to keep the plane level. They tried everything. They ran through their checklists. They attempted to use the primary trim system. Nothing. They switched to the backup, the alternate trim system. Again, nothing worked. They radioed their maintenance base in Seattle, troubleshooting with mechanics on the ground. Every suggested fix yielded no result. The stabilizer was locked solid. The decision was made. Los Angeles International Airport had better weather and longer runways. It was the safer choice. The crew began preparing the cabin for an emergency landing. Then, at 4:09 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, during one last attempt to free the stabilizer, something gave way. A deafening clunk echoed through the airframe. The worn-out jack screw assembly, the very heart of the stabilizer system, had failed completely. The stabilizer snapped to a full nose-down position. The MD-83 pitched violently downward and began a horrifying vertical dive. The force of the dive was monstrous. Passengers were slammed against their seatbelts. Unsecured objects became missiles, flying through the cabin and hitting the ceiling. Screams filled the air as the ocean rushed up to meet them at a terrifying speed. In the cockpit, both pilots threw their entire weight into the control columns, pulling with over 130 pounds of force, their muscles screaming in protest. Somehow, after an 80-second plunge that shed over 7,000 feet of altitude, they managed to arrest the dive. The plane leveled out around 4,400 feet. The cabin fell into a stunned, heavy silence, broken only by the heavy breathing of the exhausted pilots and the persistent cockpit alarms. They had stopped the fall, but the problem was far from solved. The stabilizer was still jammed, and the pilots were physically drained. They requested a block of airspace from air traffic control, buying them room to maneuver as they prepared for their final approach into LAX. Captain Thompson made a calm measured announcement to the passengers, explaining they had a flight control problem and would be making an emergency landing. His voice was a lifeline of stability in the chaos. For a few precious minutes there was hope. They began configuring the aircraft for landing, testing the flaps. The plane responded. They were just miles from the airport, and then it happened again. At 4:19 p.m., a final catastrophic failure. The entire horizontal stabilizer tore free from its damaged mechanism. The plane pitched straight down once more, this time flipping completely onto its back. Upside down and in a vertical dive, the pilots fought to the very last second. In a moment of incredible airmanship, Captain Thompson rolled the inverted aircraft, trying to use its own lift to raise the nose. For a fleeting moment it worked, but it was too late. The forces were too great. The altimeter unwound in a blur. At 4:22 p.m., Alaska Airlines Flight 261 slammed into the Pacific Ocean near Anacapa Island at nearly 300 miles per hour. The impact was instantaneous. All 88 souls on board were lost. In the aftermath, investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board would recover the wreckage from the ocean floor. The evidence was clear and damning. The jack screw's Acme nut was found almost completely stripped of its threads. The cause, insufficient lubrication, a simple routine maintenance task, neglected. The investigation uncovered a culture of extended maintenance intervals and cost-cutting at the airline. A vital check that should have taken hours was being done in one. Warnings from concerned mechanics had gone unheeded. The legacy of Flight 261 is written in the stricter regulations, improved inspection protocols, and the unwavering memory of the crew who fought until the very end. Captain Thompson and First Officer Tansky were posthumously awarded the Airline Pilots Association's Gold Medal for heroism. In their final moments, they steered the crippled jet away from populated areas, their last act one of profound responsibility. On the California coast, a memorial sundial stands. Every January 31st at 4:22 p.m., its shadow falls upon a plaque bearing the names of the 88. A silent, perfect tribute to lives lost in a tragedy that should never have happened. Thank you for watching this complete video. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel Red Dot Aviation. Goodbye.